Welcome to Marketing MASH, brought to you by themarketingscope.com.
So this is Eric Vidal, editor and chief content officer at The Marketing Scope, and you are joining the Marketing MASH video podcast show. And today we're going to talk about video marketing. Today we have Shelly Kramer on her way, just 2 minutes away. Brian Fanzo on his way as well. And if you don't know Shelly's the president and CEO of V3 BroadSuite, speaker, author, what have you. And then we have Brian Fanzo. I'm just doing introductions, Brian. Perfect timing. Welcome. Let's talk video marketing. And I was asking Kelly, Brian, and I was asking her, when did you first start getting involved in video marketing? And Kelly, you mentioned that, back in 2009. Can you give us a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah. Well, that was when I dove headfirst into the parenting blogging space, mom bloggers, and Maria Bailey, who founded Blue Suit Moms Media, started a group called Mom TV, and it basically was a platform just for moms to host their own shows. So this was like pre-Periscope, pre-everything, right? And it was moms, often sponsored by brands, producing shows for their readership. Do you want me to dive in a little deeper?
Well, yeah. Well, let's get there in a second. Brian, tell us, when did you start getting into video marketing? We all know
I believe I was like kind of the king of being marketed.
When did you start?
Because I was in cybersecurity and never took a college class in cybersecurity. And in a matter of 3 months, I was managing 13 people that were all cybersecurity guru, expert coders. And so I turned into like the idea where not only YouTube, but I signed up for, I attended every webinar, every freaking industry event that I could possibly consume on a video perspective, because I will put this in perspective. I'm extremely transparent, but I wasn't diagnosed ADHD until I was 31. So I wasn't on medication until I was 31. If I was going to consume something and read something, I was not going to learn it in a sense that would allow me to really, provide value and do it in a way that I feel I could. And part of that was, I think, actually, I'm not even sure, at the time, if I had to read something and then turn it into training material or turn it into work, it was a lot of work. So for me, video was the easiest way for me to learn, consume, and actually do. So that's why I think for me, video marketing was so easy, which is why it kind of talked to me early on in social media, because if I was able to actually do the same for others, to me, I was able to simplify and even really attack the same target. So I'd say, the 2003 to 2009, I was the consumer of tons of video marketing because it was my preferred method of learning. The ironic part of it was circle back like 3 years ago, and a majority of my consumption was switched to blog posts thanks to the iPad, thanks to Flipboard, and a lot of my consumption where I did a lot of my reading when I didn't have video on or didn't have headphones or and that kind of world. And then the live streaming and the video blog kind of landed in my lap, and I'm much better at talking and sharing my insights than actually formally writing them down. It just takes, the process for me is much different. So that's kind of the background where I came from. So I definitely, when I approach it, I always kind of come from the idea of what the hell do I like or enjoy, or what the heck would I enjoy as a video consumer instead of a traditional video marketer.
Yeah, no, those are good points. And I know you've said those before. Welcome, Shelly.
Hi, how are you?
We got Shelly coming in.
Hi, Miss Shelly.
Hi, Shelly. Welcome. We're doing great. We did an intro of you already. Hey, Shelly, quick question, because we're just kind of getting started, but topics video marketing, especially after, on the heels of the video marketing event we had yesterday. Welcome back, Kelly. Glad the video strength is better now. Hey, Shelly, so when did you start really getting into video marketing?
It's been kind of a long time ago.
Or what was it on?
I'd say 5 or 6 years ago, really just kind of, and I think that to your point, Brian, when you talked about how you consume information and what works for your brain, I think that as a voracious consumer of content and information, and as somebody who works with clients to help them understand sort of their customers and their customer preferences and everything. So we've been looking at video for a long time and looking at different aspects of the audience that we're trying to reach and how they consume content and what their preferences are. And, what I never forget is, Brian, I know that you have a clear preference for video, and I think video is really important. But as a consumer, I hate video. I don't want to watch your video. I don't want to watch your video to learn something. I don't want to watch a video to get it to know you. I am a very quick reader, and I have the ability to comprehend really quickly. And it just, we're all wired the way that we're wired. And so for me, if the only content that you create is video content, your chances of connecting with me are very slim. But if you create video content and written content, and the written content is enough to compel me to want to watch your video content, that's my path to consumption. And so I think the most important thing to me in this discussion as humans, whether we're marketers, whether we're trying to, sell our services as speakers or whatever it is, whether we're content creators in our own right, I think it's just really respecting and understanding that everybody has different preferences when it comes to content. So you have to kind of really know what your audience is and what your goals are with that audience and what you want them to feel or to do or to buy as a result of whatever it is you're creating, and do that in a way that speaks to their preferences.
I'm going to piggyback on that if you wanted me to, because exactly what you're saying, back in 2009 when we were doing these mom-centric channel, it was accompanying a blog post, it was accompanying a series of tweets, it was accompanying a Facebook post, and so it becomes a piece of content that lives where that audience is. So if somebody didn't want to watch your video, they didn't have to. They could follow. In my case, it was always a how-to. So it was how to create something. And so they could watch the video and they can do it step by step, but they could read the blog post and get the same effect if video is not their thing. So I think that you're exactly right on with that. And it has to be an all-encompassing campaign. At least that's how I feel.
Well, but I think too, that I think something that's really important that's changed dramatically in the last year is Facebook and Twitter. But especially Facebook, where there's this huge audience that is rolling through the stream, doing something, popping in, rolling through the stream, seeing what catches our attention, seeing what catches our eye. And if you're a brand that wants to connect with an audience on Facebook, I think that you really need to be incorporating video into what it is you're doing, because we don't want to be advertised to, but we'll stop. How many times have you watched a video that you've seen on Facebook that you're like, wow, that was a spot by a tampon maker. Like, who would have ever guessed? Because I was cracking up all the way through, or this was Doritos or whatever. And so I think that, or what Red Bull's done with rich media content forever. I hate to even use them as an example because it's so, overused. But I think that it's really, really, really important to be creative with video in those channels, because those video snippets are things that people, when you can draw them in with something that doesn't appear to be advertising, but that actually is a brand messaging at some level, I think that's also the key to success for a lot of brands.
And that's a great point, because there's not a chance you stop and read a Doritos blog post. I mean, let's be honest. There's not a chance in hell freezing over.
Unless it's a blog post about how to make some crazy dip using Doritos to watch when you're watching the playoff game or something.
But you said something that was actually, because like for me, like I joke all the time that like, and I can't remember who posted it. It might have been Katie had posted posted, but they were talking about the idea of like short videos. And Mark Schaefer, in Mark Schaefer's book, and the reason I know it is I presented after him this week at Social Media Summit. He actually was talking about the most shared content is the longest form content now is your most shared content, which is nothing new. And it's interesting, the live streaming video that is actually 30 to 45 minutes long on Periscope is the most watched and most engaged video. Yet we still live in a Snapchat world where we want content, short snippets, and we all, and I think so it's to not only understanding your audience, but I think the underlying principle here is what value are you delivering? What's the goal of the content you're creating? And what is the audience that you're appealing to, but what is their takeaway, right? So like for me, what I've really learned now is that I'm embracing a lot more written, mainly because for me, there's a lot of my audience that I want them to learn about live streaming. And I can't do that by talking about it on live streaming because they aren't watching video or on live stream.
And they don't know how to do it.
I need to go where they are, educate them in the way that they consume their content, slowly drip them into what I am. And so then maybe they'll get a taste of it. I think that's something that, like you said, for brands, like, I mean, Red Bull is a great example, but Red Bull is always a great example. But like Huffington Post, for example, Huffington Post they did 10 Periscopes and 10 different bloggers got access to the Huffington Post account on Periscope, which is a ginormous audience. Yeah. And all they did was stand here like this, hold their phone up and explain their blog post. And I've talked about this I love the way that they do this because then when you're reading this person's blog post, you hear their voice and you understand the thought process. So they answer questions like how long it took them to get the data that they provided, what their reason was for creating the post, what their response was initially. But the interesting part was like it was awkward watching some of these people because they're not video, right? They create amazing content and they're amazing writers on Huffington Post. But like watching them like answer the question, but for me, it was very endearing. And I would probably follow a couple of those Huffington Post writers more so now because they were on video, even though awkward, than they were before. And I don't know if that was Huffington Post's goal, but it's interesting from a strategic perspective because they used video for me ultimately to read more of the written content of this one writer.
That's funny. Well, I'm a speech major, so I went through college, standing up in front of classes full of people and trying not to do annoying things, and we all do things when we're nervous. We have little we have little tells or we have little habits and those kind of give away when we're nervous. And the thing about that is, and I'm sure, you're tremendously comfortable on video, Brian, because you've done so much of it. I'm comfortable on video. But I also have that speech major as a background. But I think also the key to being comfortable on video is to do a lot of it and to watch yourself, and we all get so skeeved out when it comes to looking pictures of ourselves or watching ourselves on video, because there's never anything that we're never enough just as we are. But when you want to produce more effective video, I think what you have to, and you devote the time to watch yourself, you can see what are the annoying habits that I have and be aware of them and try to stop them, or think about things like, well, how does this lighting look? Or, how is my, little things that you learn over time, like, not having your laptop flat on the desk when you're talking on video, but having it up and, anyway, so you just learn over time to do better quality things. And I think it pays off in the end.
Well, you guys know Kristen Cardos. Kristen did the 30-day challenge in it's Amy Schmittauer's Savvy Sexy Social. She does vlog every day in August. And so she does, and you do it every single day. Mm-hmm. Kristen probably did 10 Periscopes beforehand, but she didn't miss a single day, 30 days. And what Amy actually does is she gives you a topic every day if you don't want to do one off the top of your head.
Right.
And she gives you a little questionnaire every day to answer about watching your previous one. So you watch your own, answer it. And it's like a very engaging. But I can tell you, Kristen, about 3/4 of the way through went from being like pretty good and comfortable on live stream or on video as a whole to being engaging and driving like amazing content. And it was funny because I didn't think of it that way because I went to school. I was lucky. Right out of college, I got sent a certified technical trainer course that made us speak. And we had to do 2 weeks of nothing but, public speaking training conversations and video and how you do all these things. But man, I can tell you just watching Kristen do that. And all it was consistency and watching her own and learning. Like all of a sudden turned her chair. She always liked to do it outside. And so she turned her chair the other way so the sun would be in a different direction. And then she realized if it was held more with a microphone, like, it was like, but things like if you just did it once a month, you would never build up that correlation to be better at video marketing.
On that note, let me bring something up. So with my experience in the enterprise, being a marketer, and I worked with a lot of trainers over the years because I had to train salespeople or other marketers. And those are some wonderful people because they take into consideration a lot of what you just said, Brian, and more. And it goes back to what Ross Quintana said about 5 minutes ago. He said snack-sized videos. And one of the things that they do, and they've done for quite some time, and I don't see it so much with marketers. And I saw it a lot in 2003 and 4 with some marketers, and it kind of just died away about 10 years ago. Or maybe I'm just not seeing it as much. Maybe I'm missing it. But creating these videos that are very digestible, or they're very short videos, and they're almost chapterized. So really a 30-minute video is chapterized into, and by the way, I made up that word, chapterized. Into maybe 7 or 8 or 10 videos, right? And so you watch the quick 2-minute intro. Oh, now I want to go into like how to change a car engine or something like that, or how to change your oil, right? And so go right into that one. Oh, wait, I don't need the first 2-3 chapters. I just want to go right there and learn that. But then at the end of the video, it gives recommendations, or if you want to read a 3-page more detailed doc. And I worked at a company called Macromedia.
I was Macromedia certified.
2003, and we had
that gives me nothing now.
And we had a product that did that. And we had a product back then that did that we learned a lot about, most people would jump off around 6.5 minutes into the video, which now is probably like 2 or 3. But that product steered really and went big and blew up in the training industry, corporate training, education, what have you. But the marketers, it started to, and then I don't know what happened.
Jay Bear did Jay Today, which he did every single day, 3-minute video. I watched every single one. It was one of the ones I downloaded and watched. But I will tell you what he learned on that was the audience that he was appealing to was not enough. And then each one of the topics were so either bleeding edge news, or it wasn't actually building the strategy or the audience that he actually thought would be built from that kind of content, because the content that people were consuming were, he was an author and a long form blog writer. And I thought that was an interesting piece. And on that same idea was like this whole idea of not only Snacksized. So Blab, one of the things Blab's working on right now is directly annotating your replays based on when someone comes in and out of the room and your topic change. So therefore, when someone wants to watch the replay, they can just click on there'll be a drop down and it'll say, this is when Shelly Kramer got in, or this is when we changed the topic to this. And to me, I think that's actually probably the more important aspect. Like I wish, like in Periscope, people could literally cut through and say, skip the welcome. I know who the hell Brian Fanzo is. Give me the chunk of value. Let me watch that. And I think snackable, and I think Ross said snackable because he likes snacks in his beard.
Eating. Ross likes eating. Right, he's like me.
Snacks in his beard. But snackable is interesting for me because I already talk fast and I would rather deliver short form. But I've always kind of felt that when it's that short, it kind of, it's the difference to me between reading a blog post, and this is going to sound really bad, but reading a blog post on Mashable about social media or reading a blog post on Buffer about social media, where Buffer, I get concrete information, Mashable, I get highlights. And I think I think of the two as like short snackable. I need a freaking drink and study time to get through Buffer blogs.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but another thing that there's a challenge that we need to overcome, and LB Makeup Design brought it up too, is the editing. So I worked at WebEx, so I can badmouth WebEx. I love WebEx. 100 things I can say about it. But the editing on the archive piece was just horrible, and it was hard, and it wasn't easy. So people would just post the 30-minute webinar or the 60-minute webinar, which really there's only 10 minutes of good content, right? And so you had to go through that to read it. Yesterday we did a webinar too, Brian. There was some of this older technology needs to be simplified.
Wait,
and especially
stop.
From the editing
You guys talk so fast. I'm
That's what
totally
you have to
jumping
do.
in right now.
Jump in.
I'm busting in. Backing up on what you said is, if you don't know that you've seen a ton of snackable content, but it's really making a resurgence, especially in video. Even stop motion video is making a huge resurgence right now. And it's a lot of it has to do with bloggers that have DIY blogs, recipe blogs, and even travel bloggers, and they're showing basically their entire experience in like 30 seconds. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I can't get enough of it, and I can't wait to start playing with stop motion video, which, like I said, I've seen a ton of in the last, I don't even know, maybe 3 months. It's just making a really big resurgence right now.
So let me ask a question on that. So is that maybe something the B2B marketers could learn from? Do we need to learn from our brothers and sisters
I
over
haven't
there?
figured that out yet, because I hear what you're saying
space?
about marketers and they're giving webinars and they're teaching other marketers. I think that's almost a different animal. So if you are a marketer that's working on behalf of a brand, so B2C, then yes, we would want to start creating more content that's like that. But when we're marketers teaching other marketers and we're trying to teach something, I really like the idea of that skip ahead, like Brian's saying, or chapterizing, like you're saying. But I don't know that we're at a place yet as far as a teaching perspective to our peers where it could be like that.
I think that beyond the teaching piece, I think the answer is absolutely yes. B2B marketers can be using snackable video, and what they really, teaching is nice, but I think they really want to sell things. And so creating snackable video that allows you to reach your customer base, give them snippets of information, not make them sit through a 30-minute webinar or anything else. I think it can be very big for B2B marketers. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah,
I think you're right,
Shelly.
Sure. I think it's like a nurturing,
Absolutely.
A nurturing
Absolutely.
journey.
I mean, it's
right?
a
You watch
step,
the short
it's
video.
Definitely
You
a
want to
step
learn more,
in the
download
funnel,
the
and I
ebook,
think
or you want
that
to do this.
it's beyond, it's deeper in the funnel than when somebody takes time to watch to read your infographic or that sort of thing, and it's just you're starting to get them interested. And I think the key is to develop the right kind of content. Marketers so much, especially in the B2B space, we require so much of people. We require too much, more than they want to give. And so I think that when you can start creating experiences that gives them this little snippet of information that's interesting, that makes them want to know more, that makes them want to participate at a deeper level, make them want to go and use your revenue calculator or whatever that takes them deeper into that journey, I think that there's a great case for using video in that way.
So I think something that's interesting in this conversation and just the idea of what we're talking about in that, not only educating, but that stat that came out that I actually quote now on stage every single day, it seems, is 64% of buyers after watching a video, their next action is the purchase, compared to the other side, their next action directly isn't a video. To me, it's an interesting stat because it doesn't mean they don't buy if they don't watch a video. It's just saying that 64% are actually watching a demo of your product or consuming a video. My thing is, you have to actually convince them or get them to that part in the sales funnel to actually want to watch the video, right? I mean, I think that's what I'm talking about here, because I think I'm like you. As much as I love video, I love producing it, I love sharing my message on video. For a brand to get me to watch a video, it is way the hell down on the cycle, or I've educated myself so much along the way that I want to skip that entire sales cycle and I want to just get to the nuts and bolts, decide or eject. Like, one of the things for me lately has been like lead pages. So I'm using lead pages. I've been paying for lead pages, but I was like, okay, I want to see what the other competitors are, right? And I know the tool, I know the market. I'm not going to go contact and like watch read an infographic or a blog post. I went to each one of their YouTube channels and said, what is your video? What is your video? What is your video? Okay, now I have a better idea of what your value is to provide from a software company. And I was like, okay, now I can go from there. So to me, it's definitely, I think you're right. I think anybody who's taking, and especially like for me, talking about the power of live streaming, no way in hell do I think live streaming fits anywhere north in the sales cycle. You have to have such a matured area for someone to actually find value and to deliver on a call to action in live streaming. And I think people that are attacking video marketing from the sense that it could be the first touch point and the last touch point are clueless, because I think that's completely wrong.
Well, two quick stats, Brian. So one of the things we see over here at the Marketing Scope is we get a lot of open rates and click-throughs when we use video marketing in subject lines or in headlines.
Every headline.
And so, of course, now just throw video marketing in the subject line. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, every headline. Yeah, but the other one is, and this is something Tyler Lessard shared with us yesterday, and it was a large number. He said 80%, which is much higher than what we've experienced. But is when you use video in a landing or reg page, your conversions go up dramatically. So couple of nice quick stats. And I know you shared some good stats too, Brian. You want to share a couple?
A big number. Session? 40 million hours of video is being consumed a day on live stream on Periscope. 40 million hours a day. And a lot of that, I would say 39.5 million of those hours are worthless crap. Because I think, unfortunately, live streaming, what happened with live streaming video, and this is my own very sheltered opinion, the fact that I've been living in that space now a little bit, is that people got a sense that content was king. And they also kind of mirrored that over into the video live streaming space and said, I don't have to provide great content. I just have to provide a crap load of it. And I think that is like the downside of this entire industry, like in my opinion, because, I was on the phone with a brand this morning. So a brand that I was talking to, they said, Brian, I opened Periscope 4 times this week. The people that were in my feed were nonsense. I felt like I was watching reality TV. Yeah. And I said, I agree. There is 98% of crappy content that is just adding to the noise, right? And I think that is like an interesting piece. And then the other stat was 70, and this is by Salesforce, 74% of internet traffic in 2017 will be from video. So 74% of that will be video. And then the other one was that I like a lot, which is interesting. Mobile video consumption will be 50% of all mobile data in 2016. So if we think about it that way, this was my argument about portrait. And I know everybody that's a traditionalist hates my argument, but if we're building content or video content, and if we have a high percentage of our audience, which I can tell you, my audience because I analyze that side of it. A majority of my audience. So I have 72% or 71% of my audience that engages with me on social media, engages with me from a mobile device. Therefore, I believe they're consuming my video content from a mobile device. There's no direct correlation because Periscope doesn't give me those stats. But if 50% of all mobile traffic we video on mobile, we have to actually even think about the video we're creating, even for B2B, on not only who the audience is, but how they're consuming it. Because I think there's a different even perspective or how far you stand away from the screen and when you drop your call to action. Because think about it, when you're giving a call to action on the phone, the reason I pay for the ridiculous price on lead pages for the SMS side is because I do lead digits. So whenever someone's watching at the end of my Periscope, I say, make sure you text iSocial to 334444. Therefore, they can actually do that on their mobile device because that's where they're consuming it, compared to me giving them a link, which they can't actually click or do in the video. So those are the two of the stats that really jump out at me, with video being, it's not 74% of the internet traffic when my daughters are teenagers. It's 74% in 2 years, which is going to be crazy.
Right. Well, and I think it's probably close to 50% now. I don't think that's
I think it's 48%.
Yeah, I don't think that's a surprising stat at all. But I kept waiting for you to make your point on portrait.
Well, so my point is on portrait is how the user is consuming it, right?
I know.
So
I know what your point is. I've actually written about it. But because we are such snobs about, you have to hold your phone in landscape. And I mean, I've been the same way. And I wrote about this, probably in the last month, about maybe we need to be rethinking this, because with things like Periscope and Meerkat, and because the other thing is that the ordinary average Joe doesn't know that you don't hold your phone this way when you take a picture.
You're right.
They're doing it, why do we insist that it has to be landscape mode? So I think we're going to see a shift in that. But it's funny because when I wrote that post and when I shared it on Facebook, the diehards are like, "No way! That's crazy. I'm a purist. I would never." It's just so funny because nobody likes to change. But it was very interesting.
Well, on that same.
Go ahead.
Something funny. Just real quick on that. I'll let you jump in, Susan. But Amy Schmittauer, who I absolutely love, Savvy Sexy Social, her video, way she does it. I've done 3 videos for her that she asked me to submit, and the first 2 videos, always she said, set it up on your DSLR, make sure you're doing your writing and all that stuff. So she sent me today or yesterday and said, hey Brian, I want you to submit for my 500th episode. Give it to me from your iPhone 5S or iPhone 6S. So something we can't underestimate is actually the video quality on these devices now far exceed the old days of even the iPhone 5, where before she was telling me to go get my DSLR. It was kind of a pain in my ass, but I knew the quality meant so much to her.
Right.
The fact that email said, use your iPhone, it stood out to me it was like, holy cow, our mobile devices now are even the video I wouldn't even call her a snob because I love her for that. But video purists, it's better than a snob. Say it the other way. But go ahead, Kelly.
No, I was just going to add on to what we're talking about is why not make video more accessible for everyone? Not everybody has to be a pro. I mean, if you watch CNN and they're showing a video clip that someone sent in, it always has like those blurry sides so that it doesn't have the black lines. And I giggle every time because I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And then part of me just is like filled with joy that some average person really wants to be part of what we're doing. And I think it's great. So make it accessible for everyone.
I agree. Yay!
Yay!
Well, there you have it. Well, maybe this is a good transition to close up. But hey, I just want to make sure I get the afternoon headline, and then the New York Post is going to say, Brian Fanzo says 39.5 million videos or hours of video
that would be good
crap on Periscope.
Did I get that right? A bad day for our Periscope, Periscope evangelizing. But well, actually, the truth is, I said it on stage when I was calling people out. I am a firm believer that the cream will rise to the top, and it's the reason that the great bloggers, the great people that are building agencies, the ones that are doing great stuff are now kicking ass, and those that were selling snake oil for all those years are now finally getting a kick in the pants and are coming down. And it's no different in live streaming. It might be a quicker rate to failure, but it's funny for me watching a couple people that have 50 million hearts, 40,000 followers. I have less than 10,000, to put that in perspective, and they'll get 8 to 10 people watching their content now, 8 to 10, because of how much crap they spewed. They ruined such an audience that they either muted them or for me, the pain point is they probably uninstalled Periscope. So now I can't even attract them back in, but it's an interesting world we're living in. I wish the mantra for everybody would be stop creating content because content's king, and start focusing on great content. And great content means great for your audience, not great because you read some blog that said 10 secrets to great content. It's great for what your audience is consuming, not what some freaking random person's telling you.
Well, hey, here's one. So back before video marketing was big, I was doing it back in early 2000. And what was great is no one was doing it. So I'd get clicks all the time, and our open rates were phenomenal. They were in the 90%, like 92, 95.
Dan paid me to say that since he's absent today. He paid me to just get one little jab in there.
You know what, Shelly? You know what? I was wondering it felt different. It felt very weird today because I was breathing fine. I felt good. No one was. I wasn't. Yeah,
and he's texting me right now, and I said, "You're missing it." And he said, "I just got off the stage. I had to do 2 sessions. They liked it so much." I said, "Oh my goodness, I feel so bad for you." So, he's just. They saw the Adidas and said they wanted more Adidas underneath the sport code, and they couldn't get enough of it. My Adidas there.
Brian, I think you're really the only one in this conversation that will actually appreciate this. But since you brought up the Adidas, or as Eric says, Adida, which I think maybe is right. We have a client that just had a baby boy, and I was shopping for a birthday gift for her from all of us at B3B. And I came across these little miniature tracksuits that are just exactly like what Dan wears, because that's what Dan wears everywhere we go together. He's got on his, track jacket, Adidas track jacket, oh my God, it's so funny. Brian, I bought them in 2 different sizes so this little boy can grow into it and keep wearing it and channeling Dan Newman. It's going to be awesome.
That is awesome, especially because today his selfie was with a sport jacket over top. The man, I know. Someone mentioned it to me today because they were interviewing me, and they said that we love your uniform. And it was funny.
Yeah.
I was like,
yours is a flannel shirt and jeans.
Flannel shirt, jeans, and a hat. And and I blame Steve Jobs because I remember reading Steve Jobs' biography and him saying strategically he went in with that idea that he needed to figure out a way to stand out and to figure out how to get people to let him wear what he wanted. And he said he would only wear that black shirt, the crew cut black shirt every single day, every single thing he did. And it was like that uniform. And I remember reading that and going, well, shit, what's my uniform? It's funny now because now it's like Dan. Like even when his first picture, I'm like, does he have his Adidas on? And then I saw the next picture and I saw this. He had to have the little stripes showing there, so it's funny. I appreciate baby
I'll send you a picture of it. It's hilarious.
Good call, Shelly. Good call. And by the
you
way,
did.
I worked with
Adidas
in 2006.
That's what I'm saying.
They were very clear.
Ever since we were together in Minneapolis and we were talking and you said Adidas. And I'm like, you know what? That's the right way to say that. And so I say it that way now with a nod to you and knowing because most people I know mispronounce it.
Somebody in their North American office set me straight before I talked to them in Europe to make sure.
It's your Guatemalan heat.
Well, listen. Yeah. Yes, right in here. So listen, great show today, guys. Thank you so much for the very lively and fast.
Always. Well, thanks everybody for showing up. Everybody in our audience here. You guys are awesome for always making time to come by and hang out with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for the
and
great.
Now, thank you, Ross,
great
for making us all
comments.
hungry and having beard envy. All right, guys. Cheers.
All right.
That's it for this episode of Marketing Mash. You can share your thoughts by following us on Twitter and Facebook. Subscribe to our podcast to keep up with the show. And of course, you can always find us by visiting themarketingscope.com.